I was born into a mixed-race family with abusive parents and ran away at 15 after my father sexually assaulted me. I've lived in Miami for 3 years, and the United States is the 8th country I've lived in. I was living with an intimate partner for about 6 months that I was going to marry. We had traveled overseas and had been there for 10 days. One day, he came back from work and was behaving in a way I had never seen. He was visibly upset at first, but I thought it had passed over because he offered me a half glass of wine. After, I went into the bedroom and thought it was strange that he was in the dark. I went to pick up the remote control for the TV, and he tried to grab it from me, pushing me onto my back. He sodomized me, holding me with his elbow and hand across on my body, strangling my arms. It was so painful I could not do anything but scream, howling, wailing noises. He was looking directly in my eyes, someone who supposedly loved and cared about me. I wrapped myself in sheets and went to bed. When I woke up, I felt suicidal as a result of the panic and desperation I felt at the time. I fell asleep and woke up again, but the same thing happened. I felt helpless. I didn't go to the hospital until many hours later and was brought to the rape treatment center. I was worried if I reported the crime, I would have to leave my home, not knowing that the perpetrator must leave. After approximately 5 days, I reported to the police. 4 officers came to my apartment and forwarded the information to the Special Victims Unit. I was aware that I was breathing and alive, but the trauma left me a shell of a person. The officer would keep visiting me a lot, keeping me updated on the case. One day, he came over and persisted, trying to convince me to sit in the car with him. I did not want to annoy him, since he was investigating the case. We were sitting in his car, and then he sexually assaulted me. I was crying and shaking, and he pushed his fingers inside me. When I stopped crying, he began comforting me and asked if he had done anything to upset me, and then did it again. I was trying to process everything that was happening to me, and then he tried to have sex with me. I was crying so badly, tears were running out of my nose and I was shaking. He looked nervous and zipped up his pants. I told him I didn't want to have sex with him, but he still asked for oral. When I said no, he told me it was too soon, and within 2 minutes he left. I was convinced I had set him off, and I was concerned he wouldn't work on my case properly. I texted him, apologizing, telling him that it is my fault and everything I'm going through. He told me that given my emotional state, my mind couldn't process what he was telling me. The next time he came over, I ended up having sex with him. It was the first time I had unprotected sex. He never gave me a moment to process my original trauma. I met with my trauma counselor but didn't tell her what had happened with the police officer. I felt guilty for lying to someone that was trying to help me. I reported the officer the next day to Internal Affairs, the police that investigate internal police crimes. The state attorney's office didn't want to prosecute him because it made me less credible since he was investigating my other case. They dropped the case against my ex as well. In lieu of criminal prosecution, the officer was told to leave the department. He can still join another police department in the state and country. Now I have PTSD, flashbacks, and nightmares. Both men have tried to reach out to me. Until 8 weeks ago, I was still receiving emails. I couldn't get a restraining order because the judge said there wasn't any evidence that I was raped. I had given him diagrams showing the injury marks. A few days after I reported him, the police officer blew my phone up with text messages and calls, apologizing for not being in touch. He told me that he's a good police officer, and all he's ever tried to do is help people. He told me that there's a light at the end of the tunnel for me, and he only wishes the best. I later met a guy and moved in with him, but he was controlling and abusive. He knew my history. One day I couldn't take him anymore, and took 2 sleeping tablets to drown him out. When I woke up, I realized he had sodomized me. To get away from him, I lied to the crisis unit and told him I was feeling suicidal. When he visited, I asked him, "Why did you do that to me?" He laughed and said, "The pipe needed cleaning." I didn't report it because there was no point. They didn't do anything. People say that domestic violence and other issues are prevalent in Miami, but I am not surprised. If a victim comes forward to report a crime, our judicial system still does a poor job. This is my story.